After finally reaching 9,999 in Depth 5, I thought it'd be cool to go ahead and make a video providing tips and advice for those who haven't made it there yet, and also for those who just want to consistently secure wins in each run. Keep in mind though, that anything can happen and wins are not guaranteed, but with the tips from this video, your chances should greatly increase. Now, without further ado, allow me to show you that you do have what it takes to climb past the barrier that is Depth 3 and Depth 4, and break through the obstacle that is Depth 5. Deep of Night is basically Nightrein's hard or ranked mode of the game. Enemies will deal more damage, have more health and stance, and are more aggressive than they would be in a normal match. The higher you climb in your depths, the more difficult each expedition will grow to be, with obvious spikes in difficulties from Depths 3 to Depths 4. As for what you should expect in a Deep of Night match, teammate-wise, especially if you're starting out, you will be with people who are either beginners or who have been stuck in that depth since Deep of Night came out. Unfortunately, in Depths 1, 2, and possibly even 3, you will have to rely more on yourself the most if you want to progress. You will also come across a bunch of griefers, quitters, and even some who go against the majority rules routing and go on their own and die and then leave. And the griefer is basically just somebody who holds a weapon that you need or sits in the back and just watches you and your teammate fight and does nothing. They don't help you, they just troll you. I like to consider the first few depths and matches in Deep of Night like the preparations and training that you're gonna get to kind of brace yourself for what's coming next as you climb the rank. As you play Deep of Night more, you will notice that there's a new type of enemy that you haven't seen in a normal match before. These guys have more health, posture, aggression, and deal way more damage than the normal variants in Deep of Night. In Depths 2 to 3, expect to get one shot if you have no damage negation at full HP. And in Depths 4 to 5, expect to get one shot even with a damage negation at full. You can also find that even basic enemies like these guys here can be red too. They'll also drop a weapon upon their defeat, and this is always going to be a guarantee, so it is worth it to kill them. Also, the red weapons that you get from the wandering bosses deal more damage than the purple, so fighting them is almost always worth it. Now, before you actually sit down and start to jump into Deep of Night games, I do have a few recommendations for you and what you should do to prepare yourself for the matches that you're going to face. First of all, I would like to suggest that you should at least get comfortable with 3 different Nightfarers. If you're playing with randoms, there's a chance that someone might pick the one character that you're comfortable with playing with. And depending on the boss, having too many of the same character can be very troublesome. Another thing you should do before entering Deep of Night is to solo every Night Lord at least once, but I would prefer you do it like a few times. When you fight the Night Lord solo, you have to deal with all the aggro and learn the right time to dodge or attack. You are also relying completely on yourself to defeat the boss, and you cannot get carried by others in a solo match. Being conditioned to rely on yourself like this will help in the instance your teammates get 3 bars in trios and you're left to fight alone. You are also the one in charge of routing, so playing solo will develop better routing and decision-making skills during runs. A new thing that you'll find in Deep of Night is that you have 3 new relic slots to better enhance your builds. These deep relics will come with pretty good bonuses on them, but you have to be mindful, as some may come with strings attached. Some of these demerits can and will make a few of your relics feel like wasted opportunities, since they are not worth the risk. I'll explain the demerits that I will tolerate and the ones that I outright reject. For the most part, I'll tolerate any relic that has build-up upon taking damage, or taking damage causes buildup. The relics that I choose to avoid on most of my characters is going to be repeated evasions, lower damage negation, continuous HP loss, reduced damage negation after evading, because that's like 45%. I will tolerate the reduced damage negation for flask usages, but I will not tolerate certain relics that reduce character traits such as Vigor, Arcane, Dex and Faith on certain characters, and Strength on other characters. Some of these traits I find very important for a few of the characters that I play with, so having those reduced like that is going to be contradictory to what I'm trying to prove. It will conflict with my playstyle. Now that I've explained a little bit about Deep of Night, and you understand what you're getting into, let's go ahead and dive into the fundamentals of playing Deep of Night in trios. As soon as the run starts, I like to look at my teammates' relics before we land, just to see what they're running and get a good idea of what they're looking for. Not only does this help me to understand the decisions that they might make in a run, but it also helps me to incorporate that into an ideal route, just in case I'm the one who has to lead and pinpoint where we're going. Here, I can't exactly figure out what my Wilder's going for, but I can tell that the Executor's running crits. So, during the run I can pick up stance breaking for more opportunities to get a stagger on an enemy, or I can drop weapons with improved critical hit passives for the Executor. As for the Wilder, I'll have to go by feeling. In this example here, the Recluse on our team was running a Giant's Flame build, so I found the Talisman for improved incantations and I ended up giving it to him. When making decisions on what to fight or where to go, it is important to stick together. If two people agree on a location and you're the odd one out, you have no choice but to follow the majority. Even if it's a terrible idea to you, sticking together with the team is way better than splitting up. Maybe if the area is too difficult, they'll probably change their mind and go somewhere else to get stronger first, right? But who really knows? Sometimes, also, listening to someone's suggestions or routing would get them to return the favor. So if you mark something else later on, maybe they'll be like, alright, let's go ahead and do it. You know, it's kind of like a respectful way of playing. It's like you respect their decisions and they respect theirs. So it's always good to just try to keep team morale up, and do not be afraid or don't be shy to mark something on the map and see what the response is. Because most of the time, if you mark something and it's really good, they'll agree. As you climb the ranks, you'll find that the player quality generally increases, but sometimes you'll get these rare cases of people with questionable strategies and loadouts. Occasionally, these teammates can be stubborn and will ignore your suggestions or the majority's votes on where to go. In the case that this event happens to you, do not give up. The run may be tough and hope might be lost, but you will be better for it whether you win or not. It is through rough expeditions like these that will build endurance. Do not stress over a loss. You can always get back the points and recover from it. It's always just important to keep going. In matches with parties, or where you're in a party, it's easy to communicate and decide who we should follow or where to go. But when you're playing with randoms, there can be confusion on routing or pathing, or it can be a challenge when you're trying to direct the team to one direction or one objective. If it so happens that you're not comfortable marking something, but someone else is, and they manage to mark something that you're comfortable with handling at your current level, go ahead and agree with the pin. But if the location seems too dangerous or risky, you should try to make a suggestion by marking somewhere else on the map that will also benefit the team. Sometimes the person who wanted to go to the first location would agree with your pin, most likely if it's like on the way or not too far off route, and maybe even the other person on your team will vote with you and give you the majority vote over the other guy's pin. Usually if you get the majority vote and there's common sense, your teammates will all go to that location, and then you guys can handle the next objective. In Deep of Night, passives are important, especially damage negation passives. So it's always good to share damage negations if possible. Sometimes they can be scarce, so sharing will increase your team's overall survivability during boss encounters. I like to keep damage negation at full HP if I find it, but if my tank does not have one and I'm playing a damage or support character, I'll hand it over. The reason why is just because the tank will be in charge of keeping all the aggro and he will have the boss's attention the most. So I'll give it to him just so that way he can take a hit. As for successive attacks negates damage, I recommend giving that to a melee character who can proc the successive bubbles efficiently, or you can keep it if you're not playing as a range character or a spellcaster, and you're also doing the R1 successive attacks. Damage negation on charge attacks can go to RNG because he can proc it with his bow, or it can go to your tank if a damage negation at full is unavailable and they are actively using charge attacks. If they're not doing charge attacks or they already have a damage negation at full, then you might make more use of it than them. You must also just know that you're going to have to use your discretion on whether or not you should share a damage negation passive, because sometimes you can drop it for somebody and they'll just look at it and be like, what am I supposed to do with this? So always just use your own discretion. During battles, there can and will be moments when your teammates make a few mistakes that cost them their lives. I know that when your teammates go down, there's an urge to rescue them. But understand that if the boss is looking at you, you have to continue fighting. Your role at that moment will be to hold the boss's attention while your other teammate focuses on saving the one who needs help. If everyone focuses on reviving one person, there's a higher chance that the boss will allow you both to join them on the ground. There are times when you can go against this rule, however, especially if you're the only one left alive. Watch the boss, prioritize your survival first over reviving, and do not focus too much on saving someone. Also be sure to utilize your Nightfarer's strengths to aid you in battle. I will show you a few examples here where both my teammates go down or one of my teammates go down and how I handle it. I'll also show a video of reviving while you're under stress or if you're the only one left alive. So during this fight right here, the Undertaker goes down. She makes a little mistake, gets hit by the shield. Undertaker's down. Revenant goes down. Boss has little bit of health left. So at this point, I'm just going to focus on getting the boss out of the way. He's dead, and now I'm going to pick them up. I'll also show where the boss has way more health, and instead of just finishing the boss and then picking somebody up, we go ahead and just revive them because we do need them for the fight. So during this battle here, we have one Wilder, 3 bars, the other Wilder goes down. He's got 1 bar. I'm gonna go ahead and revive him while the dogs are doing their pledges, since it's easier for me to dodge those while reviving, and he's not gonna be all up on me. Now he's still on me. I'm gonna go ahead and start reviving while just locked off, looking at him, watching what he's doing. Go ahead and dodge that. Then the RNG is gonna come to assist me. I'm gonna use Undertaker's passive ability to get him up the rest of the way. And that's just an example of using your character's strengths or abilities in order to accomplish a current goal. Being able to know what your team is capable of is a very essential skill that can be used when developing a proper route during expeditions. If you're facing off against a formidable opponent and the storm shows up, or it's taking way too long, in other words, the reward from the boss is not worth time and effort, making the decision to leave and come back later could be the deciding factor in whether or not your team is underleveled or shows up in the circle with no flask after escaping from the storm. Unfortunately, in rare moments, you will have to run from battle and leave a down teammate behind, especially if they have 3 bars and the storm's already engulfed you. Keeping tabs on the weapons and passives that your teammates are carrying is important because it gives you even more clarity of what they're going for. Looking at the demerits on your teammates' weapons also tells you what to expect. For example, someone on your team has near death reduces max HP, and you've seen them go down a lot. Then you know that they may become a liability, especially if they're not carrying a damage negation at full. If someone on your team has a weapon with repeated evasions, and you've seen them dodge like crazy and just repetitively, then they also might become a liability since their damage negations will all become mitigated. You can also see if your teammates are carrying least likely to be targeted, which, if you do see this, you'll know that you're going to be receiving the most attention from the bosses and all the attention is going to be on you like you're performing on stage. Also, don't get annoyed if a squishy character or spellcaster is running least likely. Least likely is part of the game, and do not get mad at squishies for carrying it, especially if you're the tank. It's your job to be the center of attention, so that just helps them dish out more damage while you have the boss looking at you. Once again, I'm going to explain why solo matches are important. As you play more depths, you will recognize the bosses that you struggle with the most in these matches, and it can be different from just casual matches. I like to practice in solo matches against the bosses that I struggle with in particular, and those bosses for me are going to be Everdark Balancers and Everdark Augur. I know it's easy, but that's just one that I don't know, gimmicks, I guess. I don't know what it is. I recommend solo practicing whenever you're not feeling like playing depths, since you can run it in a solo match. But there is one boss in particular that is easier solo, and that boss is Everdark Libra. So for this fight, I recommend practicing in duos or trios until you're comfortable seeing that boss as your target in Deep of Night. And as I said, it can be different from casual matches, but the more you practice the boss, the more you'll be able to evade their moves, and the less likely you are to get hit from something or make a mistake during the fight. Because the more you practice, the more chances that something will happen in the match, and then you'll be likely to expect that next time and understand how to deal with them. Understanding your mistakes or what caused the run. Remember, you can always get better, and your gameplay won't always be perfect or peak. But being able to adapt and learn from your mistakes will help you when you have to face those Night Lords again in a later match. Take every loss or failure as an opportunity to learn, and do not get into the habit of blaming your allies. Even if they may be at fault or it looks like it's mostly on them, it is best to just focus on your own performance and analyze what happened for you specifically to fall. The way I like to take it is, if I go down during a boss fight, then I did something wrong. Because basically, you only go down for mistakes that you make. So I expect a perfect boss fight for me, or decent, is for me to stay alive. I don't care if my teammates go down, that's fine. But for me, I need to be the one who stays up. If I go down, I take that, I learn from it. So a few examples of what happens basically is you dodge wrong, you weren't looking at the boss. Did you fail trying to revive, or did you put yourself in a dangerous situation that cost the game? For example, in Everdark Libra, did you go right in the middle and then get swamped by all the condemned? Even if you were the last one standing, try to see what little mistake you made during a fight to better improve your own gameplay. Don't worry too much about how others play, and try to focus on the game that's at hand. This can be hard to do sometimes, and even I fall victim to it, to where I'll analyze someone else's mistakes, but I'm not going to take my frustration out on somebody who's just trying to enjoy the game. Why ruin someone else's experience when they might already be feeling bad for going down so much? It's happened to me where I've made mistakes, I was on the ground with 3 bars, and I felt terrible already. Like, why am I getting revived? Just don't revive me anymore because I made too many mistakes. Understand that everyone makes mistakes, and everyone has those days where they're not at their best. Just let it go and move on. We do not need to feel toxicity in this game. There are times on runs, especially in Depth 5, where damage negation at full is nowhere to be found, especially when we need it the most. And sometimes you just gotta deal with it. There's nothing you can do. And when that happens and you're facing a red formidable, those moments are extremely scary and can be tense. One slip up can cost you your life, because you'll get one shot. Moments like these suck and can lower your confidence, but keep your head up. There are plenty alternatives to damage negations, and if you even get the option for physical or affinity damage negation as a doormat power, do not hesitate to pick it up. That tiny bit of damage negation can make the slightest difference in whether or not you get one shot. Also, try to pick up anything with physical damage negation or physical damage negation passives on weapons, and always grab max HP whenever you can, because the more health you have, the less likely you are to get one shot. Those passives will not completely even out Poor RNG, but it will make it a bit more bearable. Also know that you might have to lock in and just do the best you can to fight every battle hitless. I hope that this video helps you on your path to conquer Deep of Night. And if you managed to reach the end of this video, then thanks for watching and following through. You'll have to excuse me, as I'm still getting used to speaking in my videos. But in the future, I aim to produce detailed tutorials on every Night Lord. I'll also share builds for each Nightfarer and show how to fight each Night Lord with all of them, every single one of them. If you wish to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like and comment down below for what you would want to see next. Subscribe only if you feel like it, as it will help support me and keep me motivated to share more content with you. And I wish you the best on your Deep of Night journey. Until next time, have a good rest of your day, or have a good night.